Every home baker knows that they can count on their freezers to make their loaves last longer. The classic that we always do is that after baking the bread, we let it cool and then take it to the freezer. But today I want to show you a new universe of freezing. Is that what it's called? Okay. I am going to show you 5 different ways on how to freeze your bread in all its processes. I'm going to show you how to freeze a bread halfway through baking and finish it another day. Then I am going to bake a totally frozen bread straight into the oven. We'll see some tips that will come in handy at breakfast time. And finally, we're going to rate them in the gluten scale and see if there's one that I prefer the most. So if you're ready, let's get started and may the gluten be with us. Usually, when we bake bread, we consume it as soon as possible. However, if we don't do that, we can always freeze it and save it for later. Once we decide that it's time to eat it, we take it out of the freezer like a stone and take it immediately to the fridge to slowly defrost. And now comes the fun part. We're going to place the bread under the tap water and we're going to get it completely wet. And now we're going to take it to a preheated oven at maximum temperature for around 15 minutes until it comes back to life. And here we already have it. It looks brand new and I want you to hear this. Now tell me if it looks frozen or freshly baked. The truth is that only an expert baker could barely tell the difference. And it's again freshly baked. And here I come with a bread loaf totally proofed, ready to be unmolded. I love doing this. It's my favorite part. A few final touches to give it a little love, and now it's time to divide it. Obviously, by the eye. Of course, you should do it with a scale. Now that we have the dough divided, the logical thing would be that we start shaping the bread loaves. But in this case, we're going to do something different. Now I fold the dough onto itself, as if we were making a ball, and transfer it to this small container. Now time to cover it, and you might be wondering, Gluten, what are you going to do with that dough? Now you'll see. I'll take it to the freezer. See you later! And a few days later, we take it out of the freezer and we'll notice that the dough is basically like a stone. But that is the idea of this experiment. So again, we take it to the fridge to slowly defrost. And here we have it back, on the counter, completely defrost. Now please look at it carefully and tell me if that dough really looks like it ever was in sub-zero temperatures. Let's put a little flour and unmold it right here. It really looks very good, perfectly proofed, full of bubbles. Now I fold it to one side, now to the other side, and now roll it onto itself, giving it some tension. Time to close the tips, as I always do. And if you want to, you can skip this step. A little touch of flour on top, and time to transfer it into the banneton for a little while. A trick to realize if the bread is ready to go to the oven is to touch it with a finger, and if it springs back immediately, that means you still have to wait a little longer. Now it looks quite relaxed, so with the finger we touch it, and if it takes a second to spring back, it is ready to be baked. We unmold the loaf in a preheated Dutch oven, make a surgical cut, cover it, and take it to the preheated oven at 480 degrees Fahrenheit for around 20 minutes. It's time to remove that lid, and wow! Look at that ear! Who knew that that dough was frozen? Now we leave it for 20 more minutes so it gets golden brown. And here we have it fresh out of the oven. The truth is that it looks incredible. Haha, listen to this. It is super light and I love that golden color. And look at that crumb, it couldn't get more softer. If I had to give this a name, I would say that this is the perfect slice of bread. Good, so let's give it a try. Here we have a bread loaf ready to be baked. Something we do often. We slowly unmold it on the preheated skillet and we do some scoring as always. Now we cover with the lid and now we take it to the preheated oven at 480 degrees Fahrenheit for around 20 minutes. So far, everything is normal. Excellent oven spring. The only thing that we're going to do differently now, then instead to return it to the oven to finish cooking, we're going to place it on this rack to cool down. And as soon as it does, and we put it in a bag. And we take it to the freezer at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And a few days later, we remove it from the freezer and take it to the refrigerator to slowly defrost. And here we have it back. Very soft and ready to continue its baking. We're going to do it the same as always, in a preheated oven at 480 degrees Fahrenheit for around 20 minutes. And listen to this. Wow, let's see that crumb. Oof, that is delicious. What a nice slice of bread. It is still warm. Okay, time to try it. Are you lost with all the sourdough bread recipes that you find on the internet? Would you like to learn all the tips and tricks to make your own sourdough bread at home? Then I have the solution. I have designed the perfect masterclass of sourdough bread just made for you. By clicking the link on the description, you will learn how to make and take care of your sourdough starter, how to knead, shape, ferment and bake your sourdough bread, how to use and read the baker's percentage, all the basic techniques to bake like a pro at home, and how to read and understand your dough. Don't miss out on it and click the link on the description right now. We have now reached one of the most expected tests of this video. We're going to shape a bread as we always do. Place a little flour on top and transfer it to a banneton, as we always do. But we're not going to take it to the oven. We're going to take it to the freezer. Yes, at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. See you later! And a few weeks later, we're going to remove it from the freezer. And look at that, hard as a rock. A real rock. There is no doubt that this is totally frozen. Now we unmold it. Okay. Is anyone there? And now we score it, but not with this. Let's look for something more powerful, like this saw. Alright, that's it. Now it's looking good. Now that we've managed the scoring, we're going to transfer it to the Dutch oven, preheat it as always, and now we take it to the oven at 480 degrees Fahrenheit for a little bit longer, 40 minutes. Now it's time to remove that lid. Wow! Did you see that? Okay, we give it 15 more minutes to finish browning. And here we already have it. How did we get here from a frozen loaf of bread? I don't understand anything. And take a look at that crumb. I just know that I don't know anything. And now it's our time to try it. Oh. And now I bring one of my favorite gadgets that I use the most. The bread slicer and something else a slicer too. After a few minutes, we have our bread loaf cut into nice slices that we can now easily place in the bag.
5 minutes later.
We finished placing them very easy. Well, these were never there. Now we take them to the freezer to use them another day. And the good thing about having them in the freezer is that whenever we're asleep in the morning, they will come in really handy. Let's go with, well, better let's go with 2. Just take them frozen as they are, straight to the toaster. I like what that button does. And here we have them back, ready to prepare breakfast. A little butter. Nice jam. Spread and go. Oh, merci. Okay, it's time we go over what we did and rate each method on the gluten scale. Let's go with the first method, of bringing back to life a totally baked and frozen bread. It is a very useful method for those who compulsively keep bread in the freezer. You'll always have bread almost freshly baked. We're going to give it a 9. Let's go with the second method, where we made bread with a totally fermented dough but frozen. This method can help us a lot in case we are working with some dough that we cannot continue. We freeze it and we simply come back to it later. We're going to give it a 10 on the gluten scale. Now we continue with the method of freezing a partially baked bread. This is the ideal method for those who want to have freshly baked bread at any time. What you have to take in account is to pre-bake that bread first. We're going to give this one an 8 on the gluten scale, but I think it could be a little bit more too. Now comes one of the most revolutionary methods of baking, a fully fermented but frozen bread. I think this method is very versatile, gives very good results, and also a lot of freedom for the baker. So on the gluten scale, we're going to give it a 10. And now we come to the last method, which I think it's a classic, having the slices previously cut and frozen ready for breakfast. And we're going to give it a 9 on the gluten scale. What do you say? So these were the 5 methods I show you today on how to work with frozen bread. Please leave me in the comments what was a method that surprised you the most, or if you do agree or don't with the gluten scale score. See you in the next video. I hope you have enjoyed this video. And if you want to learn more about sourdough bread and sourdough starter, I encourage you to check the link on the description. And remember, this masterclass was specially designed for you.